And currently to this day, I mentor our younger explorers. There are people that are going through college that want to become police officers. I invite them out on ride-alongs. We talk about the police hiring process. We talk about the oral interviews. And hopefully, I can give back to them in a way that, by believing in them, where people gave to me and believed in me, to bring me to my day-to-day, to my current state in my life today with my family, my education, my career. The other thing that I do to maintain my Armenian identity is I associate with people that are more successful than myself, that know more than me, that have more education than me, that are more successful in both family, personal life, more successful in their education, more successful in their private businesses. Because it gives me an opportunity to learn. It gives me an opportunity to see things from a different point of view that only comes from having an open mind and the willingness to learn. So I put those recommendations out to the audience, to both the scouts that are sitting on the top row, the middle row, and the parents that are sitting to the front of the bleachers. As to having an open mind, investing in what you believe, and maintaining your identity. Sending your children to the schools to continue to learn their language, to improve on their education and their cultural history and their upbringing. And in closing, I'd like to say, Lav Menatzek, Bari Menatzek, Hai Menatzek. Thank you.
Member of A basketball team and basketball board member Knerkayasni Artashes Kasakhyan.
Good evening, everyone. Artashes Kasakhyan is the Glendale City Clerk, an elected office. Born in Boston, Massachusetts, Mr. Kasakhyan moved to Glendale 20 years ago. Artie attended Glendale High School, where he was involved in student government and journalism. As a student at the University of California in Los Angeles, where he studied history, Kasakhyan participated in the university's Center for American Politics and Public Policy program in Washington, D.C. While in Washington, Kasakhyan interned in Congress for both the Republican and Democratic members' offices. Also, as a student leader at UCLA, Kasakhyan led the grassroots effort to oppose the establishment of a Turkish Studies chair by the Republic of Turkey. The decision was a watershed victory for Armenian Americans who were concerned about the corruption of American academia by the government of Turkey and its agents of genocide denial. Artie studied history with a special emphasis on Armenia and the Near East, and completed the UCLA Center for American Politics and Public Policy, Washington, D.C. program. In 2000, Kasakhyan joined the public relations firm of Sturza, Zegis, and Metzger, California's second largest independently owned firm, which specialized in government relations and public affairs. At Sturza, Kasakhyan worked on a variety of issues for both public and private sector clients, including Fortune 500 companies and employee unions. During his professional career, Kasakhyan has run a number of local, state, and federal campaigns to register voters and get out the vote. Later, Kasakhyan was the executive director of Armenian National Committee of America, Western Region. He has worked closely with members of the state legislature and members of the U.S. State and Congress on policy issues affecting Glendale and Glendale residents. Kasakhyan is the only Glendale resident representing a grassroots organization on the Los Angeles County's Clerk Community Voter Outreach Committee, otherwise known as CVOC. CVOC was created by the county clerk to look for different methods to raise voter participation in county, state, and federal elections. Through his efforts, the county clerk's office now provides information in numerous languages on how to vote on their website. Kasakian became a candidate for city clerk on November 24, 2004, and won the election with a very large margin. Please join me in welcoming Artashes Kasakian.
You know, they say the hardest thing in politics to live up to is an introduction. And just listening to that, it reminded me that it's time to update the Wikipedia page, because we moved to Glendale 25 years ago. So it's been quite a bit more than 20, and I took down some notes. I want to first of all thank the Homenetmen for organizing this forum this evening, and also express how humbled I am to be sharing the podium with my co-panelists, whose experience and knowledge far outweighs anything I've done in my young career. And so I will gladly defer to their wisdom and experience on a number of issues. It also occurred to me, and I want to apologize, that when we're talking about youth and identity, although I have two very wonderful parents who raised me, Garabet and Lucy Kasakian, probably the lion's share of the raising and probably disciplining was done by my mother. And it's odd, and I apologize that you'll be hearing about youth identity from a panel of only men this evening. And I hope in the future there'll be an opportunity to hear from the women in the Armenian community as well. That's not a knock on the organizing panel. That's just a tribute to the women in our lives. And the work that they do making us who we are. Next I want to, and I don't have any prepared statements, and I apologize because I truly didn't expect to speak. I'm here to not even answer questions. I want to make an introductory statement before I sit down and we hear from our next panelists, and then we answer some questions. I want to say that I hope we move beyond any expectations this evening. And what I mean by that is I hope that no one came here expecting to hear anything from any of us on this panel that's going to create an aha moment, or that is the answer, or that's how we do things. Because that will not happen. No single person, no organization, no political party, no entity has all the answers. And you should be wary of any one group or individual who purports to have all the answers, or the answer. In fact, besides not walking away from an aha moment, we have to remember that there are many things that affect our youth. There are many issues that they are faced with. And I can give you a couple of thoughts on that in a bit, but we should leave here this evening with more questions than answers. We should ask ourselves questions, you should ask questions of us, and I would invite us as panelists to ask questions of you. Because by asking these questions, we'll kind of hash out the issues that we may not feel comfortable talking about, that we don't talk about on a daily basis in our homes, and we'll do a deeper dive into what the real issues are with identity, our youth, the crises that they face. Now, what are some of the issues that our youth are facing? They're the same issues that we're all facing. Youth are people just like us, but younger. We were all young at one point and we faced similar issues. At this particular moment, all of us, and I'm sure everyone here has a friend or a neighbor who's affected by the economic downturn. I know because working at City Hall on a nearly daily basis, I'm approached by individuals who have family whose housing is that they're at risk of losing their housing. They either have been laid off, are about to be laid off, or the business that they're struggling with which they keep their family is on the verge of failing. This causes tremendous family stress. And this stress trickles down to our youth. And it's not something that we can easily ignore because it causes a ripple. There are too many influences out there today, from the availability of narcotics and alcohol to I believe there's this new drink called Loco, which is a caffeinated drink that combines alcohol and is targeted and marketed towards youth. I mean, think about these influences, marketing specifically towards youth, and the difficulty our youth have of resisting this if given the proper tools to even do so. We have the influences of television and the internet, which I believe in the next 10 years will merge to become one source of communication and entertainment. Whereas today, you have your laptop or your tablet or your smartphone, and then you have your television, and it's separate. We're seeing every day how the two are merging together, and pretty soon they'll be the same device. And think about the powerful influence that that is going to have and what it will take to resist that type of influence. And the type of information that's now available and at the fingertips of everyone. Now, I'm not a sociologist, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an economist, I'm just a simple city clerk. But there have been studies done on this and the influence of this. We are living in a period of oversaturation of information. We have almost too much of information available to us. In fact, Newsweek just recently did an article I encourage you to read entitled, "I Can't Think," talking about because of Google, because of Facebook, because of Twitter, because of all these internet media systems of communication and providing information, people are entering a period of paralysis where you have so much information that you're either making the wrong decisions or you're not making any decision at all. When you have a lot of information, the human mind is programmed in such a way that you only retain the information that is most easiest to retain. And if you're living in the United States, if you're watching HBO or NBC or whatever else, and you're reading whatever publications and you have your influences at school and on your way to school and from school, billboards, your friends with their texting, the Armenian identity becomes a lower and lower and lower priority in your mind and to be able to retain that information. I don't say this to give a bleak outlook, just it's reality. It's something we have to be cognizant and aware of. And it's something that we're going to have to deal with. We also have to be very accepting of the patterns of assimilation, and rather than assimilation, acculturation, which is adapting to the culture of the United States, a nation that has given us all the opportunities that we appreciate and enjoy, and respecting that and adding our own influence and flavors to that fabric. That is extremely important, something that unfortunately when our community reverts to a more insular outlook or inward look, we ignore. And we oftentimes sit around and wring our hands. I mean, this happens all the time. Whenever there's a headline, a not so favorable one, there happens to be an Armenian associated with it. We sit around and we say, we wring our hands. What are people going to say? What are people going to think? It reminds me of a quote by Tolstoy. In the beginning of the book, Anna Karenina, if any of you have read it, don't look at me like I'm some sort of literary scholar. I had to read it in college. It was assigned for my Russian literature class. I don't read Anna Karenina for fun. I read other literature for fun, but not Anna Karenina by Tolstoy. And in the beginning, the first page, before the novel even starts, there's a quote that says, happy families are all the same, but, and I wrote it down, every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. And the point of that is that when you look at people who are happy and you're not, you say, Yeranirens, which in Armenian means, I envy them, I wish I was them, I wish I was happy like them, but no one understands my own misery. I am so miserable myself. These Armenians